Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join the CSA LA CCSK Study Group. So the idea today is just to kind of talk about setting up a study group to prep for the CCSK exam. And so we'll kind of talk a little bit about what the CCSK is in a little bit, but just to kind of give you a quick introduction of myself and Victor. We're basically the guys that are on the board of CSA LA, and we are trying to push through this new initiative to be able to set up this study group. Just as a forewarning, Victor and I are not certified CCSK instructors. So this is really just more of an informal, we want to put a study group together to prep for the CCSK exam. Just a place for us to bounce ideas off of each other and just make sure that we're able to have a collaborative group to study and prep for that certification. Any questions before I kick things off? No? Okay, silence is acceptance. All right, so just to talk a little bit about CCSK, it's a certification that is provided by or is sponsored by the Cloud Security Alliance global organization. The idea behind CCSK is to really just ensure that we are all, as cybersecurity professionals, willing to put forth the idea of learning how to establish standard security practices, and also just making sure that we can prove that we can do the job. So that's the whole purpose of the CCSK, and pretty much any certification if you think about it. There's also CISSP, CISA, CCSP. So like all these cloud and security certifications that are available nowadays, the idea is that you want to prove that you can actually perform the job, and also at the same time, it's a willingness to learn. And so, that's essentially what we're trying to do here. But the focus is going to be around cloud security topics. So that's what the CCSK is, and really the benefit of the CCSK. So and from our standpoint, we just want to be able to provide the folks that are part of the CSA LA chapter to have a focus group and study group for learning and being certified. I know there's quite a few people who may have had some impact due to the current circumstances that we're experiencing right now. So, this is an opportunity for us to be able to learn, grow, and share. And so that's exactly what we want to do here, is be able to provide opportunity for those who may have been impacted negatively due to the current situation. Just to kind of talk about the training a little bit, it is an online training. This is actually something that you can actually go to through the CSA LMS, the learning management tool that is provided. You can actually purchase the course, but the training that we want to provide right now are, as we had mentioned on the meetup, is to be able to provide this to individuals at either no cost or a reduced cost. And Victor can kind of talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but it is an online course, and we'll basically go through all of the material together through the online course. What we're hoping to do is be able to leverage the LMS to have all the content and access to the content, and then have the study group to be able to share, grow, and understand what we've learned for that week as part of the study group. And really just to also bounce ideas off each other. I think, when you kind of put people together in a room, you start to learn and bounce ideas off each other and grow that way. So that's really the idea. Just a couple quick announcements here. So in terms of how we can leverage this, first off, we want to make sure that we are providing this opportunity for folks who are CSA members. So if you're not a CSA member, please contact myself or Victor, and we can talk about how we can help you become a member.
No, we should ask them, why are they not a member? Everybody should be a member. Exactly.
Yeah. Victor, is this where you're taking over?
Yeah, so
okay.
I'll try to speed through this. CCSK Learning Management Platform is how you will get access to the content. It is divided into one training, 6 modules. Each module has different units. It could be 7 to 8 units. And after each unit, you will get a practice or question where you will test your knowledge. So any standard online training, nothing new. But this is how we track what's your progress. And the best part about LMS that I have felt, it will not let you advance or skip along the modules or units until you finish your questions. So for example, if I'm on module 1 and I'm going through unit 3, it will not let me advance to unit 4 until I complete the questions from unit 3. It helps me, keep myself in check and help me keep the progress. CCSK exam in general, there are 14 domains, 6 modules, 1 exam. You will get 60 questions, 90 minutes, and you would have to pass 80% in order to get the certificate. As Aneel mentioned, that we will have 6 weeks, 6 modules. Every week, Friday, we'll set up a call. We'll talk about it. The goal and the intention is that you guys will go ahead and start going through these modules every week in order to get to the point where you can take the exam. So we're going to share this deck with you guys. Everybody's going to see it on our social media as well. So the dates are here. You will get it notified on our meetup group as well, so that everybody has it on the calendar so we don't miss it. But pretty straightforward, every week, every module, and we'll continue doing it until June 5th. And after that, you could take a week or 2 off and review it and then take certification. So today we wanted to kind of review module 1, what you're going to be expecting and learning in the module. So again, we're not certified trainers. This is just a study group, a bunch of people just herding together and talking about modules of CCSK. So one thing you're going to learn about cloud computing in module 1 is abstraction and automation. Without abstraction and automation, cloud computing wouldn't be possible. We do need virtualization because nobody's going to go ahead and set up physical servers every time you request for it. Imagine if AWS, you request for one server and it will be like 30-day lead time because someone has to actually go physically rack and stack, cable it, then networking has to set up all the stuff until you get the access. That will defeat the whole purpose of cloud computing. So abstraction / virtualization is the key concept of cloud computing. Now we do need automation because if automation is not there, then again, there's a choke point. So it's only not virtualization, it's about automation as well. So virtualization and automation together, it forms cloud computing, because at that point, there is no human or manual work. As long as I have access, I can pay for it. It will spin up what I want, automated way in virtualized fashion in cloud computing. There are key concepts of as we go about any resources, and they broke it down pretty much into 3 different categories: compute, network, storage, because that's what you need for anything, you name it, infrastructure, platform, software, applications. You do need compute, you do need CPU and RAM, you do need network, you do need storage, where you're going to save, where you're going to run your applications. So in cloud computing, we have a concept of pools where they just form like a bunch of compute pools, bunch of network pools, bunch of storage pools. Based on the cloud provider, based on the consumer, you will have access to those pools. As long as you can keep paying for it, they're going to keep expanding those pools. They're going to keep giving you access to those pools. Again, whatever you can spend and pay for it, that's the entitlement you're going to get to those pools. Again, feel free to interrupt me in between. Anyone has any questions. We're just reviewing these things that you will be seeing and learning in the modules. Now we're going to talk about the essential characteristics of cloud. There are certain things that a cloud provider must have it in order to qualify as a cloud. And the first thing is elasticity. There has to be a mechanism in order to shrink and expand on demand. Otherwise, it just defeats the whole purpose of having this on demand or elasticity in the cloud. If there's a choke point, if there's a manual way, that wouldn't be considered as cloud. So the first thing is elasticity. I can shrink or expand things on demand. Then I have on demand self-service. That means I don't need to go in and cut a PO and then write a SAO and then send it to my vendor and then vendor looks at it. No, all of that process is gone. All I need is write access and a good credit card with the limit of what I need to spend. On demand self-service. Then we have broad network access. Cloud computing would not be possible without network access. We all know that. If we don't have write access, if we don't have network access, how are we going to be able to connect it? Because we don't know where physically it's living. We don't know which region it's placed. We do need network access. So that's kind of the essential characteristics of cloud. Then measured service. So if you think about it, metered, you have electricity coming into your house, they do need to measure it in order to bill you. Same thing, if you're using a service or pool of services, if, for example, you're using compute or storage or networking, they need to measure it in order to bill you. And then resource pooling, we talked about it. We do need pools for storage, network, and compute in order to consider that as a cloud, because if you don't have a pool, every time I need a new service or a new machine, if someone has to go rack and stack and network cable, then that's not a good methodology or scalable solution. Any question on this one? Anyone wants to discuss? Anyone has any opinions about it? Okay.
No, we are good.
Either I suck too bad or maybe nobody wants to talk to me. So, and it's all thanks to Mary. She started that pattern. Nobody wants to talk to me. All right.
Making it very simple.
Thank you. Now let's talk about the models. We have service models and we have deployment models. Service models are what cloud provider is offering. SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, there is so many other different way of breaking it down, but it boils down to 3 different things. Infrastructure as service, what that means is I have access to directly to the raw hypervisor, not the physical hypervisor. So it could be ESXi, it could be KVM, it could be any other hypervisor. What that means is from that moment, if I put a platform, if I put an operating system, if I put an application, all of that is managed and configured by me as a consumer. If I go one layer above, if I buy platform as a service from a cloud provider, that means I have no access to infrastructure. I don't care, nor I would know where my platform is living. So that's platform as service. And it could be a database. It could be I have other platform that I'm buying from a cloud provider. What's up, Chad? You have a question?
Can someone mute themselves? There's some background noise.
Oh, we are gods. We can mute everyone, man. Right here. I'm kidding. The part about God, it was a joke.
My dog just barked.
Didn't hear it. Didn't hear it. All good. Keep going.
Thank you. Then we have software as service. So that's what we consume day to day. There are very few people who go to cloud provider to look for infrastructure or platform. Usually people get softwares. So all of us consume software as service pretty much daily basis. We don't even know because we go to a website, we log in, and then we just use it. That's software as service. Now, the part where this is all offering by cloud provider. So cloud provider can offer you infrastructure, platform, software. Now, what about consumer? How do we consume it? We consume it either public, private, community, hybrid. Public is that we all know, AWS, Azure, GCP, that anybody can go in and pay by the credit card and start consuming this service. That's what is called public deployment. Private is totally opposite. What that means is there's a service provider who's gonna create a data center, and based on the service model they're offering, either infrastructure, platform, or software, they're gonna create it for me as one consumer. So I'm not gonna share that with anyone else as long as there's proper SLAs and contracts and agreements. That's private. Now, community is, what if Chad and Neil and I, we're like, you know what, let's go with the private, but let's make it together because we don't want to trust others, but we are friends. Let's form a community model where we're not going to trust people we don't know, but since we know each other, let's form a community model. That's where a cloud provider will have contracts, SLAs, and agreements with all three of us, and that's going to become community model. And the last is hybrid. What that means is you pick any two of the top three, and that's hybrid. So you can mix and match, and that becomes hybrid model. The first two are well known, and we see it day to day. The bottom two, not so much. Any questions, opinions, feedback on that?
What is LAS and LISSS or LAAS?
Infrastructure as a service.
Thank you. It's I
Sure.
Actually. Yeah, it's not L.
Oh,
So yeah, you just have to think. So think about it like if you were filling out a security questionnaire and you had a platform at work that you were administering. And so, for instance, in my case, it would be a customized Salesforce instance. So we always get confused between whether is it a platform as a service because it's Salesforce out of the box, or is it infrastructure as a service because that's a platform that we're using to manage our programs, as well as we give client access for reporting. So
Yep.
just you have to think about it like, in any of these things, what, if I was filling out a security questionnaire for a third party, how would I answer the question?
Exactly. Yeah. So again, in the real world, the lines are blurry between these service models. For CCSK perspective, infrastructure is something that you have full access to your infrastructure. If you think about your data center, you have full access to it. And that's what cloud provider is giving you, that infrastructure as service model. But in real world, the lines are pretty blurry when it comes to platform, software, infrastructure. Yeah. Thanks, Chad.
can we have some examples, Victor, like for SaaS, like Microsoft 365 is a SaaS, or for example, Netflix is a SaaS or PaaS?
So go ahead, Chad. I think you.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think, so software as a service is like a subscription model. So if you were, let's say, Office 365 is definitely one because unless you have it, if you're buying the online license, it would be software as a service. It would be like a subscription to Basecamp. It would be a subscription to Trello. It would be a subscription to Asana. Like think about like those types of tools used for plugging in that you would plug in to do integrations. Platform as a service would be like your Salesforce, your CRMs, I think, Dynamic CRM. Azure. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then
Azure is both PaaS and IaaS.
Exactly. And then I'd say IaaS would be like a custom instance of Azure where you're doing some sort of a, you're building an application on the Azure infrastructure. You're using like a web application, like Azure, an Azure website.
We can build the virtual machine as the development environments and all.
Exactly.
Building the machines over cloud, that's IaaS. And if you are deploying any software on already available environment, then it is going to be PaaS. And as you were saying, Microsoft 365 and Office 365 are SaaS offerings.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can someone explain about hypervisor 1 and 2?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. So that's virtualization, but I'll try to be brief because I know it's 4:30 already. So type one is, that's all right. So hypervisor is what we use for virtualization. And type 1 is when it's installed as first layer or first level of operating system. But what that means is I don't have Windows or Linux or anything on my server. I have any sort of hypervisor such as ESXi. That's type 1.
Okay.
Now, when I go to type 2, what that means is I have first layer of operating system. Then I'm installing that hypervisor on top of that operating system. That becomes type 2.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. I'll try to breeze through it. I know it's 4:30 already. So this is the point we talked about it. Everybody still talking about it, but it seems like industry is not grasping on it because as a consumer, as a cloud provider, there's still so much confusion. As on the call, we just saw it. What is PaaS? What is IaaS? And SaaS. So one thing you want to keep in mind is more control you want from cloud provider, it's your responsibility for everything, for incident response, for configuration, for patching, for everything. The less control you have and you give that control back to cloud, that responsibility goes on the cloud provider. So on the screen, I'm trying to illustrate here that if it's infrastructure as service, the shared responsibility, the more it weighs on customer side, consumer. And as we go on the right side, software as service, since we are consuming the software, we don't know the hardware, what hypervisor it's running, is it patched or not? That's cloud provider responsibility. So I won't beat the dead horse here because we talked about it, we heard about it, but again, keep that in mind when you're shopping for a cloud provider or maybe reevaluating. You want to think about those things, that who owns what. Try to figure those pieces out so that it's not blurry lines anymore for you, for your business, for your cloud provider. You guys are clear about who owns the custody of what. With that, I'll stop here. Any questions before we talk about our next event?
Was this in the first module or were?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. All of those, what we just talked about today, that is what you're going to learn in detail from a certified trainer in module 1.
So are we going to get any email after this with this material or with the links?
Yes. So this deck will be available on our social media. And if any one of you have a smartphone, go ahead, please scan that QR code. That's going to point you to our LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. This recording will be posted on our YouTube as well. So next Friday, we have CTO from Palo Alto Networks speaking on securely connect and scale remote workforces. It's a timely conversation. We all should be talking about it. So if you have not yet, please go ahead and go to our meetup page and sign up for that.